Transcribing music by ear, the ability to understand what you hear and be able to play it just by listening to it, and ear training in all these related fields can seem sort of like magic, some kind of black box, if it's not something that you're very familiar with or haven't spent a lot of time with. But of course it isn't. It's like anything else. It comes from practice, and there's a bunch of processes behind it that go on behind the scenes, so to speak, internally to the person. Types of calculation, types of familiarity, types of guesswork, all sorts of stuff happens when trying to work out music by ear. And so the purpose of this video is to hopefully make explicit what is normally a sort of internal process. Like when I go to transcribe a piece of music for my own personal reasons, what actually is happening? What is the process that I'm going through step by step to do that? So I'm just going to pick some tunes at random from Spotify, some sort of simple music so that we can do some basic examples. And if people are into it, I can do some more complex examples in another video. But in this video, we're just going to pick maybe a few songs, and I'm going to push play. First time I'm ever hearing the song, I assume. And I'm just going to try to verbalize the exact process that I go through in order to figure out the chords and the melody of a song. And we'll do that repeatedly and see how it goes. The process generally is finding a landmark, we could call it, in order to place myself within a map. And my musical map is built around an abstracted, that means generalized, key center. So I'm not talking about C major or G major or B flat minor, but a abstracted, generalized key center that's represented in my mind as numbers. The tonic is 1, and the rest of the numbers are flat 2, 2, flat 3, 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, flat 6, 6, flat 7, 7. And so this sort of chromatic, you could say a chromatic scale, is placed around the 1 in my mind, which will eventually be filled in by actual note names when I figure out what the key is. I don't have perfect pitch, in case you don't know. So this is sort of the map. And the map is potentially filled with all of the knowledge that I have and all the experience that I have about vocabulary from the harmonic world, the melodic world, composition, arrangement, various styles of music. Everything I've ever done or thought about with music slots into this map in some way. We're going to jump into that. I'll do a few tracks and see what happens. Okay, so I'm here with the Country Frontier playlist, the latest and greatest in country music. Spotify, 11,000 likes, people are into it. I'm just going to hit next and go to some random song in here. I've got shuffle on, so here we go. So I'm singing the root of the chord. So now I play a random note on my keyboard, and I'm working out compared to the note that I'm singing, which is the root of the current chord. What is this note? So everything I've done so far is due to ear training that I've done in the past. So there's a chord quality recognition. I know it was a major chord. There's the ability to recognize and sing the bass note or the root note, depending on the chord. I've assumed, because I don't have enough information yet, I've assumed that the note that I sang, the root of that current chord, is the tonic of the song. I know it's the root of the current chord, but my mind is also hearing it as the 1, the tonic, key center of the current song. So when I play this note, this sounds to me like now as a 5th. And so I know then, because I don't have perfect pitch, the note that I sang must be this. Because if I sang this note and it sounded like a tonic to me, I played this note, a G, and that sounds like a 5th to me based on ear training I've done. So the note that I sang must be C. So if I go back to the start of the song, it is. So we've got some kind of C major chord. So now I'm hearing the bass is dropped by a half step and is playing an inverted G chord. This is, again, part of my harmonic vocabulary. I've trained these sounds many, many times. I know what that is. This is a A minor 7. Again, I hear the bass dropping down. So I'm tracking the bass note as my means of where I'm basing the chord from. Then there is the sound of each individual chord, its quality. I know the first one was major, the second one was major, but it sounded like it was in first inversion. Didn't sound like it was a root position chord. Again, that just comes down to practice and ear training and using apps and whatever and learning the sounds of those things, playing them a lot on my instrument. And then this third one, there's a degree here of logic, right? I'm hearing, okay, there's a descending bass thing. This happens a lot in all types of music. But this next one that we just heard doesn't sound like a dark straight minor chord. It feels a bit light, and I recognize that as being a minor 7th chord. So I know so far we've got this, into this, into this. C, G over B, into A minor 7. So I'm gonna listen again. G. It's just the bass is still descending. F, E minor, D minor, G. So it's bass is very classic progression to harmonize a bass line that's descending diatonically all the way down the scale from the original tonic. I don't know if it was major 7, I can't remember now. I think it was just straight E minor, maybe it was D minor 7. Into G. I don't know if it was suspended or if it was major.
Whiskey, whiskey on the wall. Been a while since we talked. No, I only come around when things go south for me. She Johnny walked right out the door and left tears and a gas pedal on the floor. Well, I just stood there and said I don't care and pack your things and leave. Didn't think she...
So now we're getting to the pre-chorus here, and I'm hearing the bass. It's not going back to the 1, it's dropping down, and it has the feeling to me of 2-ness, like I'm on the 2nd degree of the scale of a major key. So this is, and again, just something that over the years of doing this over and over and over, you get to learn the feelings of each individual thing. 1 feels away, 5 feels away, 6 feels away, 2 feels away, and it feels like this.
It looks like she's gone for good.
So it was just 2 minor to 4 to 5.
Well, I'm just sitting hoping that
that's a 4.
the second that I open up the bottle, I'll find out what I should do.
1.
And I know that I've been leaning on you.
There's nothing special happening here. This is straight up just recognizing sounds that I'm familiar with. It's not magic, it's not anything complex. I'm not even doing some weird like calculations and trying to figure out theory in my head or whatever. I've just done it so many times that I recognize that's the sound of 4, that's the sound of 5. However, even if I knew it was, the sound of 4 and I didn't know what the next one was, there's a sense that it's lifted up only a little bit and it's still major. So then I could use some theory to deduce, right, if I'm on a 4 chord and it feels like I'm going to another major chord, but it's only a little bit higher, that next, probably a good guess that it would be 5, right, because that would be the next major chord in the diatonic series. And then again, same thing going to 6. So this chorus has been this, going to this. So F, G, A minor, C. I mean, this is a pretty good song to do this with, really basic stuff. So it's a combination of bass movement with the vertical, meaning momentary, not over time, but the current moment's sound of the chord. And that sound of the chord is something that I've trained through playing on my instrument, doing ear training apps and all that stuff. Just being able to hear the difference between minor and major, between minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, 9s, adds, but all the stuff, kind of obsessively for years, the stuff that I worked on. So that's very similar to me as recognizing anything in life, recognizing a type of a tree or a bird call or someone's face or a color or a certain kind of feeling or whatever. It's just like a particular sound, particular feeling that I'm used to. And so those two things combined, that gives me the answer. I can track the bass motion, that's a skill to train. I can track the individual chord qualities, that's a skill to train. And then those are combining into this vocabulary, this harmonic vocabulary that I've built up over years and years, which comes from playing music, other people's music, composing my own music, and studying. And this harmonic vocabulary is a collection of all sorts of things, of harmonic movements, common chord progressions, what inversions sound like, what certain voicings sound like, what certain extensions sound like. By vocabulary, I mean memorized library, memorized set of stuff that I can draw from when doing this kind of thing. So anyway, that's the chords there. Now, if we go back and talk melody.
Things go south for me. Whiskey, whiskey.
Whiskey whip. Now, because I know This is the key, C. That note sounds like a third to me. Whiskey. So E, D in this key. I don't even need to touch the thing. Why? Because I've spent a lot of time singing these scale degrees over top of drones. So when I hear it has this third quality to me. It doesn't have an E quality to me because I don't have perfect pitch. I can't tell that it's an E. I only know it's an E because I figured out that I'm in the key of C, and that degree sounds like a third to me, a major third. So I put the 2 and 2 together, C, major third, it must be E. So from there.
E on the wall.
Basically.
Been a while since.
So this is, once I've got my orientation, like I've got these landmarks down, right? My landmark was, it's a third, and my other landmark is it's C major. I put them together and I can see where I am. The rest just falls into place by a combination of hearing the feeling of each individual scale degree. I know the next one that I heard was a fifth going to a sixth, as well as just some intuitive sense of intervallic distance, meaning having played a lot of melodies, you get the general feeling of how far a half step is, or a whole step, or a third, or whatever. You just get an instinctive sense over time, right, about that. So here it's like, okay, I've found my place in the key. I've got these first few notes. There's probably not going to be much that's going to happen where it's going to be some, oh my God, what was that? I'm not listening to a solo. I'm not listening to jazz. I'm not listening to key changes or anything weird. It's probably just going to be diatonic, major key melodies going on. So that's it for that tune. So here we are on the Hot Hits Canada playlist. This is pop, so still relatively simple stuff, but maybe there's some production elements that might obscure some things. We'll see. Let's get into it. I'm just going to go to a random song in here.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's really discernible here, there's sort of a chord discernible, but there's definitely a clear bass note discernible, 2 bass notes. So take a listen to that.
Yeah.
Now, as I'm hearing that to me sounds like those bass notes are a half step apart. It also sounds to me like the first chord is a major chord or a major seventh chord. Again, this is just ear training stuff, just drilling stuff, right? The sound of a major seventh chord and the sound of a half step. The sound of a half step's not so hard to hear, right? The 2 notes sound like they're very close together. So this just sounds to me like this. So that's a G flat major 7 into a F minor 7. That's just hearing the bass line and hearing those individual chord qualities sort of stacked on top with the sample, whatever is going on there. I'm not quite sure what the instrument is. Do that. That note's got the tonic feel. So that has like clinched for me what's going on here. So I'm hearing the half step, I'm hearing the chord qualities. That's how I'm getting these 2. And then it was dropping down, I think, to this. And then to this.
Everything pure.
So these go back and forth, G flat major and F minor. And then at some point, it's going down to this D flat major 7 up to E flat minor 7, back down. It's just the same stuff. This is just hearing that bass note, feeling the chord quality with this background sort of perhaps calculating of there's a half step that's narrowing things down. That's a particular landmark. Is that half step between 4 and 3 or between 7 and 1? And then when I hear that next chord, or I mean, even before that, just hearing that it was a major to a minor, that tells me all I need to know. There's only one place in standard keys where that happens. You know, that's in a major key, that's between 4 and 3, major chord down to minor. In a minor key, that's between flat 6 and 5, major down to a minor half step. That's it for that song. I mean, there's no melodies here or anything, not as far as we've gotten into the track. Maybe there is in the chorus, but I'm just going to leave that there for now and move on to the next one. In fact, we'll just move on to another pop tune, so I'm just going to click next here. Ooh, already, immediately I hear some bass note. Ooh. Is that 1? Is that 5? Don't know yet. Ooh. It's very low in my singing range, so I'm assuming ooh, it's got to be like a D, D flat. Okay, so now this guitar has come in and it's playing some kind of minor stuff. So, and this is the root of that chord. So I'm hearing this, that's the fifth of that. But there has to have been a minor third played in there somewhere. I don't know how, but somehow my brain heard that. So this is a D flat minor, C sharp minor chord. I should say when I'm hearing that, I'm starting to get the sense that perhaps this isn't going to stick in minor. This might end up being D flat major, you know, some blues thing, right? Where there's aspects where it's minor, there's times where it's major. Don't know yet, but that's on my mind.
This love is getting kind of dangerous. Feels like it's a loaded gun.
So here we've got, still in this key, but now we've got, where am I here? So I've oriented myself, I should say. I have this landmark of the C sharp minor, still staying minor. And then we get in with this kind of, so how do we get that? All those chords were just worked out in the same way as before. It's a combination of once the key center is established, ear training has been done in the past that allows me to position diatonic chords in relation to a key center. So once I've got that first one, the next ones just sort of fall into place. There might be some very quick kind of calculations that are going on, as in hearing major chord, okay, that limits my possibilities. That's got to be either flat 6, flat 7, or flat 3. Which one is it? Then I hear the next one come in and it was sounding like it was a fourth lower than the first one. So that starts to tell me, okay, maybe it was this. You know, this sort of thing happens. And there's the feeling of it is one of, could be anything. And then with every passing moment, it's like collapse, 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 collapse. It's collapsing towards some answer. Okay, so that's kind of it for the chords. It's like we've been talking about, basically. Bass notes, chord type, knowledge of keys and key structures, finding landmarks, finding one, placing it in the overall structure. Other ones come into play, like other chords come into play, and either I know them instinctively because of practice, or I make guesses, and then I test those guesses very quickly, that is. It's not a thought process. These guesses sort of come out, maybe it's that, and then I sort of test that, either with the instrument or wait for more music to happen, which either contradicts or confirms a suspicion. So then we can talk melody here.
This love.
So when I sing that, that to me has this quality of being, there's so many ways to look at this. It depends on what you're hearing at the moment. Sounds like flat 3 of the minor key, or it sounds like 1 of the major, because I can also hear, this is one of those progressions that you can tilt your head one way and hear it in the relative major, or tilt your head the other and hear it in the relative minor. It really sort of depends on your perspective, even though the first part and then the chorus are really like trying to emphasize C sharp minor and make it feel like minor. When I start to hear these things with the major, relative major inside of it, and the minors last in the progression, I don't know, you can kind of say it either way. And that's actually my experience of the perception of the chords and of the notes. In any given moment, it fluctuates. I don't really have control over that. It just somehow sounds, I actually heard this note at first as being the tonic, sounding like the major, like I was in the relative major. Anyway.
It's getting kind of dangerous.
See, I'm still hearing it as major. That to me sounds like 2, 3, 2, 1. So I'm using clearly experience and training in recognizing scale degrees to do this. Each of those notes, when I sing it back, has the feeling of whatever scale degree it is. And for some reason, my ear currently, even though my mind is trying to say the key is C sharp minor, my ear is saying, well, I hear it actually as E major. E major sounds like the key, and that to me sounded like 2, 3, 2, 1. It didn't sound like 4, 5, 4, flat 3, even though that's what it is in the key of C sharp minor. So that just goes to show that I can't control how my ear hears things, and I can't force a conceptual view onto this instinctive process that is our ear, which just discerns key centers and root notes and all this like this, It doesn't make them explicitly conscious in some kind of conceptual way, but it generates the feelings. It generates the feeling of 2, 3, not of 4, 5. Perhaps for you, you did hear it as 4, 5. I don't know. I heard it as 2, 3. So there. Now it does sound to me at that moment, it does sound like 1, flat 3, 4, flat 3, 4, 5, 1. Because that C sharp minor has come in again and it's like, no, this is the key. That whole thing. I think that's it for this track. I mean, again, we could do more melody, but whatever. Got the chords, got the melody, talked about some good stuff. Happy. Next up, I moved on to this Deep House 2023 playlist to get some like electronic music vibes in here. So, right off the bat, singing that root do. Again, I'm singing the note do. I play a note at random on the keyboard. It's not really random. I'm actually trying to play a note that I think is in the range of where I'm singing based on my voice and historical attempts to do this. Do, but when I play this, do, I can tell that now the note I'm singing sounds like a third compared to this, or this note sounds like a flat 6 compared to the note I'm singing. Do, so I know I play G, doing that calculation, that must mean that the root of this chord is B. So this first chord here is B minor, and there's more to it than that. It's like B minor 7 at 11 or something, I can't quite tell. Okay, so now we're hearing root movement going up to a D there. As is probably obvious now, I'm keeping my ear on the bass when I'm doing this chord stuff like really intensely. If you can't hear those bass notes, that's something that needs to be worked on, because this makes a world of difference. It's a flat 6.
Always ends the same when it was me and you. But every time I need somebody new, it's like deja vu. I swear they sound the same.
Okay, so we've got B minor, D major, G major, and E minor. I don't know what the exact extensions are here. They're all some form of, this roughly. I have to hear that again. Roughly these, let's say, anyway. Extended, let's just call it extended chords with the root notes B minor, D major, G major, E minor, otherwise known as key of B minor, 1, flat 3, flat 6, 4. So talking melodically. So that second note has the tonic feeling to it. So I know it must be A, B, A, B, because if I'm in the key of B minor, which I've already figured out, B is the tonic, da, da, it's one note underneath the tonic coming up into the tonic, da, 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 da. Looking at the notes of B minor, it's gotta be, okay. Again, there's that tonic note. Do, 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 do. It's got the feeling, right? So that's now my melodic landmark. I can either have heard the first note was the fifth, or I can hear the last note is the tonic and work backwards, thinking, right, it's descending 4 notes from that top one. So if I go up the scale 4 notes, I end up here. Must be that. When a melody's fast like that, it's about finding one landmark, and the rest is a kind of gesture. The rest is, it sounds like it's just descending a scale, right? That's experience talking of having played many melodies and worked on soloing or whatever it happens to be, playing lots of scales. You know, it doesn't sound like it's going big leaps or something, right? It's just tiny little walk. The point is that I'm not actually conscious of the feeling state of each of those short notes in the middle. It's too fast. I can't, it's like if you saw colors flash by you on a screen too fast and someone says like, what are these colors? You know, you might have some sense of it if you reflect for a minute, but in the moment it's kind of this blur. You probably know what the first one was and what the last one was. So anyway, this song was pretty simple too. We had those 4 chords, key of B minor, and then we talked about the melody thing using a sort of gestural idea as opposed to like each individual note, knowing what it is based on feeling state. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If it was, please let me know. If you have any suggestions for other videos of this type, or how I could make this better or more instructive or reveal more of the process in some way that was unclear, I'd really love to know that from you. If you want to see me do this with different kinds of music or even any other topics, please let me know in the comments. That feedback is essential for me. Otherwise, I'm just kind of being like, maybe this, So every comment I get, I read, and is honestly very helpful for me in determining what the next kind of video I should do would be. So hope you have a good rest of your day wherever you are. Appreciate you. Thank you for watching and for supporting the channel, and best of luck in all your music endeavors. Talk to you soon.